Hi, my name is Bijou Maliabo. I'm a member of the Human Rights Board. As the COVID-19 continued to impact our community, we have seen a lot of frontline and essential workers take charge into helping our community cope with the pandemic. This includes teachers from our Iowa City School District. As you know, education plays an important role in our society. Education is very necessary for each and every one in order to improve knowledge, which is passed on from generation to generation. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Daniel Lekin, an ELL teacher at Liberty High School. Hi, Daniel. How are you today?
Hi, Bijou. I'm doing great. How about yourself? How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me on Channel 4.
Thank you. So can you please introduce yourself and describe your backgrounds, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, my pleasure. Well, I am Daniel Lekin, and as you mentioned in your introduction, I am an ELL teacher in the Iowa City Community School District. I just finished up my 12th year of teaching English language learners, and I am at Liberty High School here in the Johnson County area. My journey to becoming a teacher began at Bergen County Community College in Paramus, New Jersey, and I finished with my graduate degree at the City University of New York in New York, New York. And now here I am in Iowa and living my dream as an ELL teacher here. So it's been so wonderful.
Thank you. So why did you become a teacher? What or who inspires you to become a teacher? Do you have a teaching philosophy?
Yeah, well, I guess there are several reasons why I became a teacher. As a young boy and into my teenage years, I always loved school. I had a great education growing up myself. There are many experiences in my life that really spoke to me that teaching is, my calling. I would say that specifically for English language learning, well, in my own family, I have blood relatives that were born in another country, and English is not their first language. So I grew up in contact with culture all of my life since I was young. Since then, I've had the opportunity to teach overseas in other countries since getting licensed. And so being a KLL, Korean language learner, and an ALL, an Arabic language learner, that has only reignited my love and passion for language acquisition. So it's a combination basically of all those different elements that have not only gotten me into the profession, but have kept me here in the profession. My teaching philosophy is basically rooted in transforming lives. It sounds cliche to say, but it's really about the student and about the human being, which I know you're interested in your human rights advocacy and work on the commission here in Iowa City. English as a language is a tool and an instrument, but it's really about the human development and helping students live the truest and highest expression of themselves. So my philosophy is deeply rooted in transforming other people's lives.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. What is ELL? Who are your students? And how is ELL different from general education English courses?
Yeah, well, ELL stands for English Language Learning. And so some people in different parts of the state or the country know ELL as ESL, English as a second language, or EFL, English as a foreign language. In Iowa City, we call it ELL, English Language Learning. That name will change, by the way. It seems like it changes every 7 years or so. It will be called LEAP, LIEP, Language Instruction Education Program. And yeah, ELL sounds like what it is. We teach English to students whose native languages are not English. So we have students from all over the world that have immigrated to our wonderful state of Iowa and are in our schools learning the language to help them be successful. ELL focuses on 4 different primary areas: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. In our ELL classes, we really focus and zoom in on those 4 specific skills because language acquisition revolves around the reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And it differentiates from a regular English course in a couple of different ways. First, I would say that all the students in my ELL classes are non-native speakers of English. So they're coming to us from different languages and cultures. We not only teach language, but we integrate culture into our lessons because learning language and culture absolutely go together simultaneously. And also the second thing that I would say is our lessons and our instruction, our activities, our assignments, we rely heavily on modifications and accommodations. So, for example, students need extra time to complete an assignment. Instead of reading a whole entire book, we will read 4 or 5 chapters, depth over breadth. We have various ways to accommodate and to modify the curriculum that we teach. So those are the 2 primary ways that we differentiate. If I could get back to one more comment, you mentioned who are our students. Well, this is the beauty of our community in Iowa City and Johnson County, in that we have the whole world in our building. I can speak on the behalf of Liberty High School because that's the building that I teach in. Ukraine, Turkey, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of countries. The whole world is in our building, and it just makes it such a more enjoyable and neat place to come work and learn.
Thank you. So how has COVID-19 affected your school at Liberty High?
Yeah, well, some things have changed. Other things haven't changed. I'll start with what hasn't changed. Teachers are still 100% committed to the student, the learning and the development and the safety of the student. So that hasn't changed. What has changed is how we reach out and how we interact or engage in learning with their students. And there's a variety of different methods that we do to accomplish that. But COVID-19 has been really a transformative opportunity, not just for the students and how they learn in a traditional, educational environment or setting, but really even for the teachers. This is all new for us, just as it has been for the students. So it's been quite the journey, positive. I've had a lot of professional growth and development from going through the COVID-19 experience. So it's been quite remarkable.
Thank you. And do you still communicate with students during COVID-19?
Yeah, communication is, I would say, probably the most important tool or instrument to make a successful learning environment for the student. There are a variety of ways that we communicate with students. As you are a district translator for how many languages? Swahili, Lingala, and French. You know, using the translators has been an absolute powerful way, especially for our newcomers and our beginner level students. But there's a lot of other ways too. Iowa City Community School District has been absolutely phenomenal in providing the resources that the teachers need in order to be successful. There's a variety of methods that we do use to communicate to the students. First is a platform, a learning management platform called Canvas. And within Canvas, we have video conferencing like we're doing now on Zoom. So I'm able to hold actual lessons where I do teach, via my sharing of my screen on my computer or recorded lessons. I can communicate and talk one-on-one with the students, answer questions. Also, I have weekly office hours twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays for a couple of hours to touch in, check base with the students and how they're doing, answer questions, get supplemental instruction, and so on. So that's been one really powerful tool that we've been using. Also, too, on our cell phones, we have a district app that allows us to send out messages and text to students. It's called the Remind app. And so that has been very transformative for the student to stay updated, especially with teenagers nowadays. You know, they rely on their texting and that instant communication that they have with their friends and family. So that's been a very powerful app that we use as teachers through our district authorized email address. And so that's been a really great tool to help get our expectations for our classwork and our coursework to the student. Also, I will say too that Google Voice, I can make a phone call home to the family through Google Voice. And so I don't have my phone number out there in the community for my students. And so when they get a phone call mine's from Jersey City, New Jersey, they know that it's their ELL teacher calling home. So that's a neat way that we're able to keep in touch with the family and the students as well. So there's a lot of different ways. The goal is, of course, engagement, getting the student to be engaged with the learning that, the teachers are providing. All these different tools really do help get a high, elevated engagement rate. So it's been great.
Thank you. And in your opinion, how has this pandemic affected your students?
Well, gosh, it's affected the students arguably just as much as it's affected me as a grown adult. The uncertainty, the newness of all of it is not easy for some individuals, especially with students, who have traumatic backgrounds or have prior adverse childhood experiences. They are the ones that keep me up at night, where I have to, really push a little bit more to check in and see how they're doing. Food insecurity is also another worry that I have. Not all students have, the 3 meals a day. The Iowa City Community School District has been absolutely exemplary in meeting all the nutritional demands. I mean, shout out to the administrators and the lunch staff who are serving the meals. It's just phenomenal work. Also, the North Liberty Food Pantry is full of food for students who need that. In addition to the food pantry that we have at Liberty High School as well, that is, always an option for students who need that food or nutrition. In terms of how it's affected, I will say this. In my classroom, I can speak on my behalf that having the online platform, all my textbooks, Bijou, are digital. For the past 3 years since Liberty High School opened up, we've been using the National Geographic Cengage publication, which is 100% online. The other apps and learning tools that I employ, like Socrative or WiserMe, all these learning platforms, they have been able to log in and access the material. Every student at Liberty High School has a Chromebook. All students, I've made sure, have Wi-Fi hotspots so that they can actually get online to meet me. It's really been quite the learning curve, but it's the structure and the time management that, to answer your question, has affected the students the most. We don't have a bell in their home that will help get everybody in their seat and ready for the lesson. It's harder for a teenager in some cases, depending on the student, to manage their time and structure, especially when they're taking care of their younger brothers and sisters who are in elementary school or who have part-time jobs at Walmart and Hy-Vee, for example. So I would say that the structure has been the most challenging obstacle to adapt to during this COVID-19 era. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. And thank you for your great work in keeping up with the students.
It's our pleasure.
Are there any programs out there from the Iowa City School District that's helping students during this pandemic?
Oh, yes. There are many programs. In fact, there are services. I kind of alluded to it earlier with the grab and go lunches for students who live in the Liberty High School attendance zone. Well, Northwest Junior High and North Central Junior High in Coralville are pickup sites between 11 o'clock in the morning and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This amazing service is going to continue, thankfully, throughout the summer. So students are able to stop by, grab a meal, no questions asked, and get a good lunch. Also, students who live in the Holiday Lodge mobile home park, they are going to have service pick up grab and go lunches as well. I believe it's from 11 o'clock to 11:50, just right before noon. So that's another convenient location provided by the district, gratefully and thankfully to the people who organize and execute that. But in terms of learning, one of my close colleagues, she's a master educator, Jan Smith, our teacher librarian at Liberty High School. If you go to our website and click on the library page, it really opens up the world for students to access multimedia and books. All students now have an AIM card, access information materials card, so they are able to check out books from the public libraries in Coralville and Iowa City. And you can read magazines, watch movies, access the New York Times, newspapers, subscriptions. All of that is for free, in addition to the books, the thousands of books that are out there. And of course, as an ELL teacher, I'm always pushing for reading more and more and more. So if you go to the website, I encourage every single student in the district, look for Mackin Via, MACKINVIA, Mackin Via, and you can log in. And for students who are still learning to read and prefer the audiobook option, that service is provided as well. So that is another phenomenal service that students can take advantage of. Also, to the guidance counselors, Liberty High School has an amazing guidance team. So for the socio-emotional aspects that are, all new for us here in this COVID-19 era, reaching out to your guidance counselor or to a trusted teacher. We can do what we can with whatever's in our professional ability and capability to serve. So food, learning, engagement, it's all there. It's all provided by our district.
Thank you. That's a lot of services. Now that the school year has ended, how do you think the new school year will look like? Do you think the Iowa City School District will continue with online classes, programs, or will school resume as usual in the coming year?
Yeah, that is potentially the hardest question to answer, and that is on everybody's mind. Every teacher, every administrator, every family member, every student is thinking about that. The short answer to that is I don't know. I have no idea. The longer answer, which I will try to keep short, I really hope so. Nothing is more important than the health of the student and the people in this community. We all have our Chromebooks and our Wi-Fi and our online learning platforms. So my job, how I view it as a teacher, is to be flexible and to be ready to go with whatever the government announces, the state government as well as the local government. I need to be flexible with those decisions that are made. Moreover, I need to be ready to go when the decision is made. Nevertheless, I really think about it a lot. I miss my students so much. I miss the routine, the interaction face-to-face with the student. It's been really hard for all of us teachers. We're working very, very hard to make sure we're giving, the quality, world-class education that the Iowa City Community School District provides. So I'm really hoping that we can get back sooner rather than later. I don't know when that's going to be or how that's going to look, but I trust the amazing, phenomenal administrators in our district, the superintendent and assistant superintendents, along with all the principals. They are absolute best in the class, erudite individuals making these decisions, and we are wholeheartedly behind them and support them.
Thank you. You mentioned that you taught in Korea and Saudi Arabia. What are some differences between teaching and learning in the U.S. and those countries?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can only speak on behalf of my experience in Korea and Saudi Arabia. Well, there's a couple different ways of looking at this. One way of looking at it is people are people, students are students, in terms of our brains and how, the brain is wired to learn, especially with language acquisition. That's a science, right? There are different stages and phases of learning language. You read the alphabet and learn the letters of the alphabet and the sounds before we read words and then sentences and so on and so forth. The cultural element is that's different, which is super amazing. That's probably one of the most rewarding experiences of my teaching career is being able to be a guest in someone else's country. I mean, Koreans and Saudis both are absolutely lovely people. Both are ancient cultures. So in Korea, being able to visit a temple and try, of course, all the traditional foods. In Saudi Arabia, being able to visit, their houses of worship, the mosques, and try their traditional foods. It's just such, I mean, I will hold on to for as long as I live. The experiences. I will never forget, going way out into the desert, and camping and seeing all the stars. It's just such an amazing opportunity, and I encourage people to visit those countries. They're just phenomenal. The classroom experience too. Yeah, classrooms, there's things that are similar, there are things that are different. One of the things that I would say in Korea, specifically in South Korea, is, there's an old saying or proverb in Korean culture that the student never walks in the teacher's shadow. So there is a really, really high respect towards teachers and the value of education and the teacher itself. Like, this person went into this career to help me and change my life and get me educated. And so, yeah, Korean culture really actively shows that. Now we have that in America and in Saudi Arabia as well. I would say Korea, though, is a little bit elevated or more than what it is here.
Thank you. What advice would you give to future ELL teachers and students for the upcoming year?
Yeah. Well, for future ELL teachers, I mean, teaching is a calling, kind of to go back to the last question. You give your life, you spend years and hours in college and preparing to become an ELL teacher. It takes a very special person to go into teaching in general. There are things that are unique in ELL specifically. I would say go for it. Do your best. The work that you're getting into, you have the opportunity to totally positively impact students in their lives. To this day, I have, oh my goodness, I keep in touch with my students in Korea and Saudi Arabia both. I've been invited to their weddings when they get married. I had a student from Venezuela when I was teaching in New York name her son after me. That was really flattering, not to be narcissistic or egoic, but you do have the chance to impact students' lives. And that's what it gets down to. Again, it's the people, it's the development of the human being. And then it's the content area, biology or mathematics or English or, so on and so forth. For the student, I'm glad to be able to answer that question. For the ELL student, I want you to know that I believe in you. We believe in you. I've been in your shoes in a different country with a new language, and it's not easy. Going to a new country with a new culture and a new language, I empathize. So what I want to tell you is this: do your best, work hard, get rid of the excuses of all the things that could go wrong or are against you. You have your teachers who believe in you wholeheartedly, and we are behind you. We are here to support you, and never, ever give up. You can do absolutely all things that you were put on this earth here to do. So I want you to go out there and work hard and take your studies and education very seriously. We're here for you.
Thank you. That was great advice. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I guess a couple of things. First of all, thank you again so much for this opportunity. I'm really honored and so happy to be able to share the ELL world. For those of you who have never been in an ELL classroom before and are curious, I have my YouTube teacher page. It's my name, Daniel Lekin. Teaching Iowa. So 4 words, Daniel Lekin, Teaching Iowa. And you can come into, the classroom virtually or digitally and see what kind of learning activities and the experience of, what it's like to be in an ELO classroom. But most importantly, too, I would also like to thank a couple of people who have just, impacted me. And it kind of goes way back to your first question about, inspiration to become a teacher. I am nothing without the Iowa City Community School District. I have a classroom that is well equipped with the books, the computers, the resources, the smart boards for me to be able to do my job successfully. Not only do I have the resources in my district, I also have the people in my district. And there are a couple volunteers, one who is a retired veteran teacher from Shimmick Elementary, Margaret Newman. She comes in weekly to help out in my beginner class. And without Margaret, my life and job would be so much more complicated. So a special appreciation to Margaret. And then, of course, another master educator who is also retired, coincidentally, Kate Jacobson. Veteran teacher Kate Jacobson was an English teacher at Liberty High School as well as West for over 2 decades. And Kate Jacobson is like a sister to me. I have my most vulnerable moments with her, and she is like a coach or a mentor to help me develop and improve my own practice. And so I just want them to know how much I appreciate who they are and who they have been to me. So thank you for that opportunity. It was really a wonderful time, and I am appreciative of the time and space that we held together here today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel, for being here today. And we appreciate
Pleasure.
all that you and the Iowa City School District do in our community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can visit icgov.org/coronavirus for more city news and update information related to the COVID-19. Keep practicing social distancing, wear your mask, and stay safe. Keep in mind, we are in this together, Iowa City. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X. Thank you.